Good morning, everyone, again. So I'm back. As Tim said, yesterday we were looking at MEF Data with respect to what was happening yesterday. It was a lot about consumer trust and anti-fraud and how the consumer is affected by privacy and concerns. And today I was looking at the agenda and what was going on, and it's about the future of SMS and RCS and payment. So I've taken some of the data from what we consider MEF data. There's a lot less of the consumer survey today. It's more looking at what will be the future of SMS, how RCS fits into that, and looking at the mobile landscapes, which we do 280 markets. I said all this yesterday. If you were here, I'll go through it very quickly. Connections, users, devices, OSs, etc. Business messaging, look at the main channels, reach, spend, traffic, and the consumer survey stuff. So, this is what we're hoping to do for members very soon. So this is a new website that is coming, and it's a new data delivery platform. And all of the data that we produce will be available, as you can see down here, a lot more easy to navigate, market information, and then information by each ecosystem. So whatever you're interested in, you can go on there, click on there, see all the data. Tabular, graphic, download it, all fine. So we have all this data. And I didn't quite know where to start today because it's quite a lot going on. The future of SMS, which is a whole event in itself, or RCS, again, a whole event in itself, and how does RCS fit into the future of SMS? Or is RCS actually the future of SMS? Or are RCS and SMS the same thing? A carrier messaging channel, and RCS is really just SMS 2.0, like we originally thought of it. So I was going round and round and round, and then luckily I got some inspiration. I was watching TV last week and saw this. Maybe I should have done Avatar. Maybe Avatar's too blue, or not blue enough for what we're going to talk about, I don't know. But I thought it had some relevance for today, because it mixes a lot of different cinematic genres, everything, everywhere, all at once. And at MEF, we call them ecosystems. But basically, this film deals with separating the reality from perception. And at MEF, we have insight and interaction and impact. Yesterday, we talked about how trust and how perception, not reality, sort of drives consumer decision-making. And the same is true with A2P. There is a perception that SMS is now under siege, that's becoming a dirty channel, that carriers are maybe even helping enable the siege with some dubious commercial models, and sometimes, of course, the perception and reality cannot be separated. Right? The waddling thing that's quacking with feathers, is a duck. So I'll try and do the future of A2P SMS and RCS all at once, and we've digested that, take a little look at payments. So, A2P SMS under siege. A2P SMS is prone to fraud, the smishing, the spoofing. It cost brands $3.25 billion in 2021. That's according to the CFCA, the Consumer Fraud Control Association. That $3.25 billion was approximately 13.5% of total spend on A2P SMS in that year. And if it just stayed at that same level, it would have cost about $5 billion last year, just on those two types of fraud, or the practices. I think in MEF we've got 14 different types, that's just two of them. Increased costs and rates. So not only do pushing up prices increase the profit potential of things like AIT, but they ultimately drive down traffic volumes as well. We heard from Horde in the working group at RCS at MEF, a very good sort of demonstration about how that is actually happening. Increasing regulation. So Ofcom, so wholesale A2P SMS termination rates rise 15 to 75% since 2021. Now looking at price caps, other jurisdictions are doing the same. OGI, Open Gateway Initiative, using network APIs to mitigate fraud, again moving traffic off A2P SMS to FA. The hyperscalers are moving away as well. Google confirmed last week, or recently, that it's looking to replace SMS on Gmail with QR codes. Meta is actively phasing out 2FA, encouraging users to switch to more secure methods, or they consider more secure methods like authentication apps. Microsoft recommends authentication apps in Windows, Hello, passkeys. AWS now supports various multi-factor types. And last but not least, we have the aggressive pricing strategies of WhatsApp. So all of this is going on, and each is a very real concern in its own right. And this is the reality, if you like. A2P SMS may be under siege, but it's still very much the lion in the jungle, admittedly maybe with a thorn in a paw or two. This shows a percentage share of total volumes, SMS, WhatsApp and RCS, and end of this year, SMS will still be about 85% of total messaging volume. So it has actually lost about 15 points over the last 5 years. At the same time, though, as that's been happening, total SMS volumes over this period have grown 30 to 40%. And both of these realities can coexist. Growth has obviously slowed, and this year will either be flat, or up a bit, or down a bit, depending who you follow. But overall, volumes in some markets are now coming down, and the hyperscalers are moving elsewhere. For reference, Google, I think, had about 2.5 billion Gmail users. So I don't know how many messages they get per year or per month. It's quite a significant volume just from that. And rich messaging is coming. And if it isn't going to come from within the carrier community, if rich messaging isn't going to come from within the carrier community, then there's a very hungry wolf at the door. So it's not hard to imagine the blue line here for SMS share falling more sharply in the next few years. And we haven't even included the channels like Viber, Telegram, Messenger, TikTok now as well, and then the national platforms in Asia, WeChat, Line, Kakao, Zalo. So this is basically then the universe for mobile users. This is where we are in terms of the mobile market, everything that we sort of deal with. All in blue here, obviously with SMS, 70% of the global population are now active mobile users, active, not registered, up from about 4.8 billion in 2017 to 5.7 billion last year. We had 4.6 billion active smartphone users end of last year, 81% of total mobile, up from about 59% in 2017. But 2.4 billion people are still not active, still don't have a phone. And the babes in arms obviously never will. But about 90% of those inactive, the unconnected, are in Asia and MEA. So you can sort of see where the growth will come from. Here we have mobile users with a broadband connection with smartphones. So this is the limit for, I guess, OTTs and RCS. 4.6 billion active smartphone users, as we said. It's about 81% of total mobile users. 3.6 billion of those are on Android. 2.5 billion with GMS, Google Mobile Services access, the ones Google can reach. About another 1.1 billion forked, Android forked. Look at China, for example. And we have over 1 billion Apple users, 30 million others. And here's another view of that broken down by markets. So we cover 218 markets in MEF, and there were 663 live MNOs in those markets at the end of last year. That's excluding MVNOs and only counting really the big three in the US. You count the rest of them, it goes up a lot. But in 280 markets, you've got 663 live MNOs. 123 are with Google RBM. Right? 11 other RBM. That means 529 MNOs, 80% of the total, don't have RBM. Or put another way, 80% of MNOs still only have the option of leveraging A2P SMS. So what is it now? It's, 11, 12, 13 years since the first RCS was launched in Spain. And apart from a handful of operators, really, in a handful of markets, we're still largely talking about the potential about what RCS could do. Its potential if operators with RBM adopt an RBM-first policy, if brands adopt RBM. And that's despite 130 odd deployments in over 50 countries. So if A2P SMS is under siege, then carrier messaging is under siege. And at some point, the 80% of MNOs here either have to act or batten down the hatches and stock up on tinned food. Because if RCS is the answer to that siege, then we need to grow the number of clients, MNO adoption, onboarding, verification, and drive scale. So these are the RBM markets. Showing this to someone earlier, so it looked like a bit like an arms race. 24 markets here where all MNOs have launched RBM with Google, or Google is guesting ones that haven't. The 3 taller lighthouses, India, Brazil, and Mexico, are equally the big markets for WhatsApp. Then we've got 4 more beacons, golden beacons, at the moment, where we have RBM, China, South Korea, Japan, all doing their own thing. And the other one there is Poland, because it's a mix of Google and Mavenir. Now, some of these may change colour in the future, but we're just going with what's been announced and what's been confirmed. And then we come to coming soon. We have Canada and the US. And the US is going to be the tallest lighthouse that we have for RCS or RBM, the lighthouse for other lighthouses. So like almost every other market worldwide, in the US, P2P SMS hasn't been decimated by the OTTs. Over 2 trillion P2P SMS messages sent in 2023. That's 2 trillion. That's like 2/3 of the A2P SMS market. And there's hardly any OTT messaging, business messaging. So the MNOs still have that control of the relationship between brands and the consumer. So there's a lot riding on what happens in the US. And then we've got 30 other markets where some MNOs have signed with Google, maybe haven't actually launched yet, no traffic. So what does this mean in terms of RCS reach? As I said before, we've got 5.7 billion mobile users, SMS users, N24, rising to 5.8 billion this year. And we had 2.3 billion RCS users. Now, this is everything. This is in China and Japan, South Korea, and everything else, well, not just Google, which is 40% penetration of SMS last year. And it'll be up to 48% end of this year. That's about 2.7 billion RCS users. Now those, we've got about 1.6 billion who could be reached by RBM, N24. That's 72% penetration of RCS. So those 20% of MNOs have actually launched RBM are doing a lot of heavy lifting in terms of reach. And it will be nearly 2 billion with access via RBM at the end of that, this year. So for those of you wondering, well, this includes Apple. So when you look at the impact of Apple, it isn't just about counting the 1.1 billion users, so not devices, users with an iPhone. First, it's only with Model X and above, and then an iOS 18 version, software installed. And this differs greatly from market to market. The 8 markets here where Apple has turned on RCS added about 125 million users in 2024, rising to 320 million this year, finishing with 9 markets because we know what's happening in South Korea. Now, assuming all the missing MNOs at the bottom, sign up to RCS, penetration jumps from 32% to 44% of total mobile users in these markets. And the Apple share of RCS users jumps from 21% to 36% by the end of this year. Now, interestingly, China, nearly twice as many iPhone users as the US. But RCS uplift from Apple in China is a lot lower due to lower adoption of X models and 18 installations. So at the end of last year, I think just 19% of Apple users in China had version 18 or above. It's about 37% now, and it will be 54% by the end of this year. You look at the US. I'm being told to wrap it up. Look at it here. It's about 86%. RBM, the same thing for RBM. You can have a look at this because I'm being moved off. And we haven't even got to payments. So we won't do payments. I'll leave it there. If you've got any questions, happy to answer them.